Money in the Morning. For those of you new to these live recordings, I'm Joe Saul-Sehy, and you are my live studio audience on Facebook. We do these Money in the Morning recordings live without a net, and I'm just firing the stuff up for a fun episode. This will be live tomorrow, so we're going to pretend like today is tomorrow while we do this. I shared a hilarious video on our Stacking Benjamins. I thought it was hilarious. Your results may vary, but this video on the our close Facebook group, the basement, and if you're there, make sure you check it out because it's a hilarious 4th of July video by Stephen Marchant, one of my favorite comedians. Just a very funny dude. Okay. Check. Do a quick sound check here. Check. Need that a little louder. Check. It'll sound the same to you. It sounds a little different in the recording system for the people getting the audio tomorrow. Check. All right, good. Get that ready and let me... Hey, Susan, happy 4th. That's good. Okay. I think we got it. 2 fun headlines today. We've got Buzz Aldrin in the news, and then the Japanese soccer team. And I love these type of headlines when they're not necessarily finance related, but they are. Or the first one especially has a little finance in it. The second one, we're just going to make an analogy. All right. Get done with this, and then I get to go pack some boxes. That's fun. Hey, Jamie. Oh, and today's mug is my Garvin Gardens mug. If you weren't here when I showed this before, I'm not going to have that many mugs. You don't get days off? I'm sorry. Oh, no days off for us. Well, Jamie, this is fun for me. So, and we're packing boxes here in the basement today. But anyway, this is my Garvin Gardens mug, and I'm not going to have many different mugs for the next few months. But if you ever get to Hot Springs, go to the national park, which is different than most national parks. It's one of the Hot Springs museums. It's an old bathhouse, which is fascinating. But go to that and go to this place called Garvin Gardens. Fantastic gardens. They have one of those cool outdoor railroads and just the most beautiful. The University of Arkansas has done a great job of putting together the grounds at Garvin Gardens. And there is a chapel there that's by the architect who was Fay Jones, who was the architect who the people that built our house that we just sold built was a follower of. So Fay Jones was this big architect. People see our house and they think it's a Frank Lloyd Wright house. It's a Fay Jones kind of disciple of Fay Jones' house. Guy learned from Fay Jones. But anyway, he's got this crystal cathedral, or this glass cathedral, where you can see all the way through it, and it's in the woods. And so you can see the wooden structure of the cathedral. It's just beautiful. So go to Garvin Gardens. One of the first tips I got when we moved to Texarkana was to go to Garvin Gardens. And I'm so glad that we did. And I still talk to people around here. I'm like, you ever been to Garvin Gardens? They're like, what? Huh? Yeah, Peter, we're starting early. Yeah. You think there's coffee in here? Fooled again. Right. No, it is coffee. I don't often have a latte, but I had a latte earlier. Just, speaking of that, every time I think latte, I think of another funny thing. Look up Elmo behind the scenes. If you've never seen the video of Elmo behind the scenes, what Elmo's really like when he's not doing his thing on Sesame Street. And it was written long before the voice of Elmo had all of those issues. So, all right. Yeah, it's a fairly old thing. Let's stop clowning around and get this thing started, huh? Here we go. This is for tomorrow, July 5th. Start that over. When I was a financial planner, I worked in this office with a lot of other planners, maybe 25-ish planners and their staff. So we had around 100 people that worked together. And as you can believe with any big office, there were some significant, I'm talking significant office politics. Even though we didn't work together, we all worked in the same space. And we get embroiled in that stuff for a day or two, or rather, I'd get embroiled in that stuff for a day or two. And suddenly I realized that my clients, and therefore my own goals, weren't being met because I was so busy talking about what Sally or Bruce were doing that had nothing to do with me. So I ended up making myself this screensaver. And the screensaver said, focus out. And what I meant by that was focus on my clients and my goals, not on this big mess going on inside the office that usually had nothing to do with me, never had anything to do with my clients. What do they call that? Checking of my actions to make sure that it reflects my goals. They call that personal accountability. Live from my mom's half-finished basement. Welcome to another crazy episode of Money in the Morning. Hey there, stackers. I'm Joe Saul-Sehy, Average Joe Money on Twitter. And on today's show, we're all about personal accountability. Buzz Aldrin in the news, you know, the second guy to walk on the moon. He's in the news in our first headline that comes to us from Market Watch. In our second headline, we're going to sashay on over to this place called Yahoo Sports. I love it when we do non-financial headlines out of so-called financial show. And then, as if that's not enough, we're going to take these two headlines like we do every episode of the show and put them together for one big idea, and that's Money in the Morning. Money in the Morning is brought to you by Tiller. If you've never experienced Tiller, guess what, kids? You're in for a treat, because if you're a spreadsheet geek like mom or somebody who wants to keep it easy like I do, Tiller is the number one place for you, because you get the flexibility of a Google Sheet or Excel spreadsheet, but you also get templates, and all of your financial transactions can be safely and securely downloaded to those sheets, so you can stop wasting time and just get to the money tracking or the budgeting. Head to stackingbenjamins.com/Tiller. That's how you tell them we sent you, and that's how you help the show. All right, we got to help the show ourselves by getting you some headlines. So, Laura, let's get that started.
And now, your first Money in the Morning headline.
First headline comes to us from Market Watch. As I mentioned earlier, this is written by Alessandra Melito. We've talked to Alessandra, and we've done Alessandra's pieces enough that we really need to have her on a roundtable at Stacking Benjamins, because she does some great reporting that we end up talking about a lot. And this piece is no exception. Fantastic piece, and just ugly at the same time. Buzz Aldrin, the second man to walk on the moon, fighting his family's claims of dementia. Revocable trust can be flawed, Alessandra writes. Let's read it. Buzz Aldrin, the second man to walk on the moon, is refusing to let anyone step over him. The 88-year-old astronaut who participated in the historic Apollo 11 mission in 1969 is in the midst of a legal battle, and his family claims that he has dementia and is vulnerable to manipulation. Aldrin's responded with a lawsuit claiming two of his children and his former manager have taken advantage of their roles in managing his assets and are exploiting the elderly. He says the Buzz Aldrin Space Foundation is using its finances against his wishes by funding, quote, future educational endeavors instead of current ones. In the lawsuit, Aldrin also claims the family and former manager have forbidden him from marrying someone, and that they are transferring money from his accounts without his knowledge or consent, in some cases to his company, Buzz Aldrin Enterprises. His children said in a statement that, quote, these allegations are products of the increased confusion and memory loss that Dad has demonstrated in recent years, and that they can be refuted by witnesses and bank or corporate records if necessary. Quote, we're committed to protecting him, his reputation, and his legacy, they said. Our work together on this foundation is testament to that. His children have asked a Florida state court to appoint them as co-guardians because of his reported cognitive decline, according to the Wall Street Journal, which would give them the power to make decisions on his behalf. Aldrin has a revocable trust with his son Andrew, named as trustee, created in 2016, and it states Andrew must give written permission before any changes can be made, according to the Wall Street Journal. Aldrin was set to take a competency exam last month, though the results have not yet been released. Neither Aldrin nor his children's representatives responded to MarketWatch's request for comment. Revocable trusts are great tools to avoid probate, which tacks on extra costs, makes the estate division process public and takes more time, and remain in control of your assets while alive, says John Sensiba, managing partner of Sensiba San Filippo, an accounting and business advisory firm. These documents can also state who will take care of your children, where you want your possessions to go, and provides flexibility for your wishes after death. But they're not always the best protection, as in Aldrin's case, he said. The best protection is talking to your family before a situation like this arises and sharing your wishes and concerns about what happens after you die or become incapacitated. Of course, that's not always possible. In some cases, the best trustee may not be a family member and instead an institution, though it's a difficult decision to make. Quote, picking that person who should act for me is the most difficult decision anyone can make, said Gary Altman, founder and principal attorney of estate planning firm Altman & Associates. And the hardest part in anyone's life is that period between full competency and full incompetency. And the piece goes on to talk about revocable trust and how the word revocable, by the way, means that you can take it back later. And Buzz Aldrin obviously wants to take back a lot of stuff as his kids line up against him. When they talk about him marrying someone later in life, I think that might give you a clue. Obviously, we don't know what's going on inside the family here, but marrying someone now, the fact that the family says that they have people that think that he's not quite all with it also maybe says a lot, but we don't know. What's interesting here to me isn't just this whole fight, but it's this idea that Buzz Aldrin put together a lot of stuff with his family to make sure things worked out right. And it still worked out wrong, which is incredible because most people I talk to have done absolutely nothing. And the chance of something to work out wrong when you do nothing is phenomenal, right? I mean, if Buzz Aldrin's fighting his family and he set up all these checks and balances and stuff, and it's still going wrong, imagine what could go wrong if you do nothing with your estate plan. So you don't have to do a revocable trust. And by the way, the one piece of this article where I disagree with the person that Alessandra quoted, I disagree on having an institution be the trustee. So you can be the main trustee yourself of a revocable estate, revocable will. But then you have to choose what's called a contingent trustee. If you can't take over, who's that person going to be? In this case, it's his son, Andrew. Now that's an October 2016 estate plan. And it seems like, according to this piece, and I don't quite get it, but it seems like the family might be fighting that. I'm not sure. The piece kind of makes that a little unclear, why Andrew's involved and not other kids, and other kids lined up against him and them taking over instead of Andrew taking over. I don't know any of this. But what I do know is you have a contingent trustee, and in his case, it sounds like it's his child, Andrew, or at least Andrew has to give written permission for things to change in the estate. You can have a person be in charge. You can have a bank be in charge or an institution be in charge. We've done shows before where institutions will drag their heels if you don't have somebody in the family in charge. So the piece of advice that I like here is discussions, is talking inside the family, getting everybody on the same page. And as the attorney said, sometimes that's not going to work. And sometimes, and I think this is a horrible example of everything done right, gone wrong, things still can go wrong. People can sue people for any reason they want. Bad things can happen, but setting up your estate plan, I think with a person who knows you and talking through it first with all the people involved, and then maybe having an institution that you can replace that handles the details that they handle over and over and over can be a great second in command. I feel bad for everybody involved in this, but I don't think that's our takeaway on a personal finance show. Our takeaway is, what's your estate plan? How's your estate plan doing? I feel like the Dr. Phil. How's that working for you? Right? Buzz Aldrin's estate's not working, and he did a lot of stuff. If you haven't done anything, maybe it's time. And by the way, I thought this was going to be a colossal waste of time when I did mine. I mean, I knew cognitively that this was going to be a big deal and that I should do it, right? Okay, my kids were young at the time, should get that done, yada, yada, yada. Went in there. I can't tell you how great I felt. Like, I didn't feel a little good. I felt phenomenal when we got my estate plan taken care of. It was like this load lifted off my shoulders. And then, you know, throughout my career as a financial planner, when I'd work with people to do that same thing, you could see the same thing in them. Like, they got done and they felt so good. And it was usually this euphoria that you didn't expect, that, you know what, for better or worse, I've done this plan. Phenomenal feeling, well worth the money, get it done. Obviously, it's a huge waste of cash if you know what day you're going to die, until like the day before, 2 days before. Just hold out until the day before or 2 days before. If you don't know when you're going to die, I'd say it's probably better to do it now. Pause the show. Go do your estate plan now. All right. That's our first headline today. Let's say hello to our live studio audience on Facebook. For those of you that don't know, we do this show, no edits, no nothing. Something comes out of my mouth that isn't exactly right. That's because we do it live. And we always have some friends that hang out here with us. If you want to hang out in our audience, head to facebook.com/iStackBenjamins is our Facebook page. And you'll just see us go live nearly once every day. Susan's here, our friend Susan. Jamie's here. Peter's here. Now, we always have a mug with us. Today, it's a Garvin Gardens mug. And before we went live, I was extolling the virtues of this lovely place in Hot Springs, Arkansas, called Garvin Gardens. You got to go there. Just go there. We'll leave it at that. But Peter asked if that's cold beer in the mug. Absolutely. Cold beer. I would never use this for coffee. Actually, I had a latte earlier, which isn't like me. And now this is my second cup. Latte is number one, and then coffee's number two. So second cup of caffeine. Julianne's here. Hey, Julianne. Ron's here, and Jennifer's here. So we got a nice little group hanging out with us. And let's head off to our second headline, which I absolutely love. This headline. I don't know if you saw this. This was a couple days ago. I've been following the World Cup. I don't normally follow soccer or football, as the rest of the world calls it. But I've been following these games just because the pageantry, the excitement, the different countries banding together and squaring off against each other. Pretty exciting stuff. This is written by Sam Cooper at Yahoo Sports. Sam writes, Japan bowed out of the World Cup in the round of 16 in heartbreaking fashion on Monday, but that didn't stop the Japanese fans and players from showing profound respect for the event's host country, Russia. Following a devastating 3-2 loss to Belgium, where Japan took a 2-0 lead in the second half before losing in stoppage time, the Japanese players made sure to leave their dressing room at Rostov Arena completely spotless. It's so amazing. And there's a photo of it. And if you have a chance, I will put this on my Average Joe Money Twitter feed, and you can follow and take a look at this dressing room. It is completely spotless, and it's not a cleaning crew. They even left a note saying thank you in Russian. And while the players and staff cleaned the team dressing room, easy for me to say, the Japanese fans made sure to do the same in the stands, just as they have after every other match throughout the tournament. And there's photos of Japanese fans, a couple crying after their loss, picking up trash. To do that after losing in such brutal fashion shows the sportsmanship of the Japanese. Japan took a surprising 2-0 lead in the 51st minute before the Belgians stormed back with 2 goals in a 5-minute span in the 67th and 73rd minutes. Still, the match looked destined for extra time when the Belgians executed a brilliant counterattack that was capped off with a game-winning goal by Nasser Chadli. You can tell if you follow football, and I don't, that I probably slaughtered that. So Belgium, at the very end of that game, clinches, and Japan's eliminated. So why is this a financial headline for us? Because let's talk about a couple things. There's 3 parts to money management. There's earning, saving, and spending, right? All 3 of those areas. And in all 3 of those areas, what Japan just demonstrated here as a team, if you take a look at your own principles, if you look at your own ethics, you look at what's important to you, you will find some phenomenal results in each of these. And by the way, what I'm going to bring up, you don't do it for these reasons, but let's just start off with earning money. True power earning money comes from the bottom, not from the top. If you're managing people and the people who work for you don't like you at all, versus if the people below you love you, that's true power. And what's interesting is you see in a lot of organizations, it's the other way, right? Somebody manages some people, but they're so busy kissing their boss's butt, they don't pay any attention. And they are more than happy to step on the people that work for them and with them to try to get ahead. And yet it never seems to work out that way. I had this manager, this mentor, for those of you that know my story, and I won't go into it today. He was this guy named Chris, who climbed Mount Everest twice. Chris was a manager that a lot of people called a goofball. A lot of managers. I'd be out for drinks with the team, and Chris's managers would talk about what a goofball Chris was. Yet those of us that worked under Chris, worked with Chris was the most helpful person, the most insightful person, was always there when I needed him, always seemed to be able to cut to the chase, went through my numbers. He didn't every single time have the right response, but he always had his team's best interests at heart. And early in his career, Chris kept getting passed over for promotions because of the fact that he acted kind of goofy. I mean, he had this goofy laugh and this goofy demeanor, and people above him didn't have the respect for him. But all those of us under him, and there were several of us. And what's funny is OG even knows this guy, and absolutely, by the way, absolutely loves him. Everybody who worked for Chris absolutely loved him, and Chris ended up going very quickly up the corporate ladder once the people on top of him realized that there were so many people who worked for Chris that worked harder and better and smarter because Chris was their leader. It's huge. If you're working to earn money, the respect that you have for the people around you, for your surroundings, it pays dividends. And by the way, Chris, I don't think did that for me. Japan didn't clean the locker room for Russia. Japan doesn't clean this. Japanese fans didn't clean the stands for Russia. They didn't do it so they got a Yahoo thing. They did it because it's who they are, right? It's exactly who they are. And that reflected on them. Then when it comes to spending money, you spend less money if you just spend it on what's important to you, if you know what your principles are. And when it comes to saving money, if you're a principled investor and you stick by your principles, you're going to have far fewer transactions, lower fees, maybe your investments, but your time frame better. Everything falls into place if you start off with me. As I opened up the show, I said, I had to keep reminding myself to focus on my clients' goals, focus on my goals, focus on what we were trying to achieve. Not all the baloney that's around me in a given day, focus out. And Japan clearly focused on who they were. And I thought this was so inspiring. I got really fired up about that. Team gets their butt kicked in a horrible way and gets the respect of a lot of people. All right. That's our second headline of the day. And before we move on to the end of the show, which is our big idea, we end each podcast by taking two of these ideas and putting them together. We have to talk one more time quickly about Tiller, because if you're not familiar with Tiller, then you might be missing out on your favorite budgeting and money tracking app. Because if you've looked at money tracking apps, you've looked at spreadsheets and none of them really work for you, how about one that does exactly what you want? How do I know that Tiller does exactly what you want? It's because you get to set it up the way that you want. You can either work like I do from templates, or the way Mom does, where it's a complex series of spreadsheets. All transactions from everywhere, from your bank, from your investment accounts, your 401k, they can all be downloaded directly and safely and securely into your Tiller sheets so that only you see those transactions. It's a simple subscription fee. They never, ever sell your data. You get 1 month free to check it out. And I would check it out, because whether you're trying to hit the easy button like I am, or you really want to nerd out like Mom does, StackyBenjamins.com/Tiller tells them that we sent you. And that's the way that you can keep us podcasting here at Money in the Morning. If you're not going to use Tiller, fine. If you are going to use Tiller and use our link, that helps us keep the lights on here in the basement. StackyBenjamins.com/Tiller. All right, let's finish this baby up. Our first headline, sad story about Buzz Aldrin, a man who walked on the moon, who clearly did some stuff, right? Buzz Aldrin gets a lot of respect from a lot of people at a time when maybe he's suffering from dementia because he's Buzz Aldrin. And it's not because Buzz Aldrin talked a good game. It's because of what Buzz Aldrin did. And this Japanese soccer team and these Japanese fans making the locker room spotless and cleaning up after themselves in the stands. It isn't about what they said. It's about what they do. And today's big idea, your true legacy is never going to be what you say. It's always going to be what you do. And I think it's a great place to leave it because I got to go do. That's enough saying for today. Thanks a lot for hanging out. I feel jealous. Karen's here. She says she's watching and she's sitting by the pool. Show off. Karen's showing off. So I got to go. Actually, what I got to do is sit by the pool. Have a fantastic day, everyone. Go stack some Benjamins. We'll see you next time.
Money in the Morning is created by Joe Saul-Sehy and is brought to our channels by our producer and engineer, Richie Rutter-Reese. Stacking Benjamins and Money in the Morning are for entertainment purposes. Before making moves, consult with your financial advisor. Looking for training sessions? Kathleen Sellemans has a great suite of Stacking Benjamins tools, so head on over to learn.stackingbenjamins.com. Hoping to chat with us on the web? Say hello to Shannon Cowan, our social media guru and community manager in our Facebook group. She can be found at stackingbenjamins.com/basement. From the basement, I'm Joe's mom's neighbor, Doug. See you tomorrow.
All right. Thanks, everybody. That was a good time. Hope you're having a good 4th of July. I am going to be packing boxes all day until about 6 o'clock. And then we're going over to a friend's house. One of these friends that buy these huge fireworks displays. And they're going to do a fireworks show and we're going to have a picnic and have some fun. And it's kind of relatively cool here, like high 80s, which is great. Probably, Karen, not like it is in Montana, but decent. And I think, Peter, if you're still here, I think you're in Vermont, somewhere in the Northeast. Peter, somewhere in the Northeast. I remember Massachusetts, maybe. I can't remember. And Susan's in that heater called Dallas Fort Worth, which is that's a place, Susan, to be sitting by the pool. So, all right, time for me. See how I'm procrastinating now? My legacy is about what I do, not what I say, is on the screen. And I'm sitting here trying to do nothing. All right. We'll see you later.